Welcome to Toxic from Reddit, where real toxic relationship stories come to life. Here you'll hear true stories from people who experience toxic relationships from different perspectives. Partners dealing with cheating, manipulation, gaslighting, red flags, and all the emotional chaos that comes with loving someone who hurts you. Stories of betrayal, of finding strength to leave, of discovering the truth, of heartbreak, of healing, and the raw reality of toxic love. This is a real story, shared anonymously on Reddit. Some details have been changed to protect the identity of the people involved. Hi everyone, my name is Marcus. I'm 36 years old and I live in Denver, Colorado. And I need to tell you about the most shocking and humiliating experience that has completely shattered my world and destroyed my relationship, which is that 5 weeks ago, my fiance's ex-husband showed up at our engagement party in front of all of our friends and family and revealed that he and my fiance are still legally married. She never finalized their divorce. She had been lying to me for the entire 3 years we've been together about being divorced. She's technically a married woman who got engaged to me while still being someone else's wife. And now I'm dealing with the devastating reality that the woman I was planning to marry has been living a double life and has been deceiving me about one of the most fundamental aspects of her identity. I'm going to tell you this entire story from the beginning because the layers of deception are so deep and so calculated that you need to understand how I was manipulated and how I missed the red flags that were there all along. My fiance's name is Vanessa. She's 34 years old, and we met 3 years ago at a professional networking event in Denver. Vanessa's ex-husband's name is Derek. He's 37 years old, and according to what Vanessa told me, they had been divorced for 2 years before I met her. Vanessa and I met at a marketing conference, and I was immediately attracted to her because she was beautiful, intelligent, confident, and she had this magnetic personality that drew people to her. We started talking at the conference, and we had an instant connection, and we exchanged numbers and agreed to meet for coffee the following week. On our first date, Vanessa told me about her past, and she said that she had been married to a man named Derek, and that they had gotten divorced 2 years prior after a 5-year marriage. Vanessa said that the marriage had been toxic and controlling, and that Derek had been emotionally abusive and manipulative, and that leaving him had been the best decision she ever made. Vanessa said that the divorce had been finalized, and that she had moved to Denver to start fresh and to get away from Derek, who lived in Phoenix, Arizona. I felt sympathetic toward Vanessa, and I admired her strength for leaving a bad marriage and starting over. Vanessa and I continued dating, and the relationship progressed quickly because we had such strong chemistry and because we seemed to be so compatible. Within 6 months, Vanessa and I were spending almost every day together, and we were talking about moving in together and building a future. I noticed early on that Vanessa was somewhat secretive about certain aspects of her life, like she didn't have much contact with her family, she didn't talk much about her past, and she was vague about the details of her marriage and divorce. Whenever I would ask Vanessa questions about her ex-husband or about the divorce, she would become uncomfortable and would say that it was a painful time in her life that she didn't want to relive and that she wanted to focus on our future together rather than dwelling on her past. I respected Vanessa's boundaries, and I didn't push her to share more than she was comfortable sharing because I understood that divorce can be traumatic and that some people need time before they're ready to talk about it. There were a few times when I suggested that I would like to know more about Vanessa's past, so that I could understand her better. But Vanessa would always redirect the conversation, or would say that the past didn't matter, and that all that mattered was our relationship. About a year into our relationship, I asked Vanessa to move in with me, and she agreed. Living together was wonderful, and I felt like Vanessa and I were building a real partnership and a real life together. Vanessa was loving and attentive, and she seemed committed to our relationship, and I had no reason to doubt her or to question anything she had told me about her past. About a year and a half into our relationship, I started thinking about proposing to Vanessa, and I started looking at engagement rings and planning how I would propose. Before I proposed, I wanted to make absolutely sure that Vanessa was legally divorced and that there were no complications from her previous marriage that could affect our ability to get married. I asked Vanessa if she had a copy of her divorce decree, and I said that I wanted to see it, just to make sure that everything was finalized, and that there wouldn't be any issues when we decided to get married. Vanessa seemed uncomfortable with my request, and she said that she didn't have a copy of the divorce decree and that it was stored somewhere in her parents' house in another state. I said that it would be important for us to get a copy before we got married, and Vanessa said that she would request a copy from the court, but that it might take some time. I didn't think too much of it at the time because I trusted Vanessa, and I assumed that she was telling me the truth about being divorced. A few weeks later, I asked Vanessa if she had requested the copy of the divorce decree, and Vanessa said that she had, but that the court was taking a long time to process the request. I accepted this explanation, Although looking back now, I realize that this was a red flag, and that I should have been more insistent about seeing proof of the divorce. About 2 years into our relationship, I proposed to Vanessa during a romantic weekend getaway, and she said yes. We were both thrilled, and we immediately started planning our wedding and talking about our future together. We set a wedding date for about a year later, and we started making arrangements for the venue, the caterer, the photographer, and all of the other details. During the wedding planning process, I brought up the divorce decree again, and I said that we would need it in order to get our marriage license. Vanessa said that she still hadn't received the copy from the court, and that she would follow up with them. I was starting to feel frustrated that Vanessa hadn't been able to get a copy of the divorce decree, and I suggested that maybe we should hire a lawyer to help us obtain it, but Vanessa said that wasn't necessary and that she would handle it. Over the next several months, I asked Vanessa about the divorce decree multiple times, and each time she had a different excuse for why she didn't have it yet, like the court had lost the request, or the paperwork was delayed, or she had been too busy to follow up. I was starting to feel suspicious that something wasn't right, but I also didn't want to accuse Vanessa of lying, because I loved her, and I wanted to trust her. About 3 months before our wedding, I decided that I needed to take matters into my own hands and verify that Vanessa was actually divorced. I felt guilty for going behind Vanessa's back, but I also felt like I needed to know the truth before I married her. I contacted the county courthouse in Phoenix, Arizona, where Vanessa said she had gotten divorced, and I requested a copy of the divorce decree for Vanessa and Derek. A few weeks later, I received a response from the courthouse saying that they had no record of a divorce decree for Vanessa and Derek, and that as far as they could tell, Vanessa and Derek were still legally married. I was absolutely shocked and confused, and I didn't know what to think. I thought maybe there had been a mistake, or maybe Vanessa had gotten divorced in a different county or a different state. So I did some more research and I contacted courthouses in other counties in Arizona, but none of them had any record of a divorce. I felt sick to my stomach, and I realized that Vanessa had been lying to me about being divorced, and that she was still legally married to Derek. I didn't know what to do with this information, and I spent several days trying to figure out how to confront Vanessa about it. I was devastated and angry, and I felt betrayed that Vanessa had lied to me about something so fundamental. I finally decided that I needed to confront Vanessa directly and ask her to explain why she had lied about being divorced. When I confronted Vanessa, I told her that I had contacted the courthouse in Phoenix and that they had no record of a divorce, and I asked her to explain what was going on. Vanessa's face went pale, and she looked panicked, and she was silent for a long time. Then Vanessa started crying, and she said that she could explain, and that it wasn't what I thought. Vanessa said that she and Derek had separated and had intended to get divorced, but that the divorce had never been finalized because Derek had refused to sign the final paperwork. Vanessa said that she had filed for divorce and that the process had been started, but that Derek had been difficult and uncooperative, and that he had dragged out the process, and that eventually she had just given up and had moved to Denver to start a new life. Vanessa said that in her mind, the marriage was over, and that she considered herself to be divorced even though the legal paperwork hadn't been finalized. I was furious, and I said, "Vanessa, you lied to me. You told me that you were divorced, and you've been lying to me for 3 years. You're still legally married to another man, and you got engaged to me while you're still someone else's wife." Vanessa said, "I know. I'm sorry, I should have told you the truth, but I was afraid that if you knew I was still technically married, you wouldn't want to be with me." I said, "You're right. I wouldn't have wanted to be with you because I don't want to be with someone who's married to someone else, and I don't want to be with someone who lies to me about something this important." Vanessa begged me to forgive her, and she said that she would finalize the divorce immediately and that she would do whatever it took to make things right. I said, "How can I trust you, Vanessa? You've been lying to me for 3 years. How do I know that you're not lying to me about other things?" Vanessa swore that this was the only thing she had lied about, and that everything else she had told me was true, and that she loved me and wanted to marry me. I was so confused and hurt, and I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to end the relationship immediately because of the betrayal, but part of me still loved Vanessa and wanted to believe that we could work through this. I told Vanessa that I needed time to think, and that I needed her to prove to me that she was serious about finalizing the divorce. Vanessa promised that she would contact a lawyer immediately, and that she would start the divorce process again, and that she would make sure it was finalized before our wedding. Over the next few weeks, Vanessa showed me emails from a divorce lawyer, and she showed me paperwork that indicated that she was moving forward with the divorce. I wanted to believe that Vanessa was being honest with me, and I wanted to believe that we could move past this and still get married. I decided to give Vanessa another chance, but I told her that if I found out she was lying to me about anything else, the relationship would be over. Vanessa agreed, and she said that she understood, and that she would never lie to me again. We continued with our wedding planning, although I was much more cautious and much less excited than I had been before. I still had doubts and concerns, but I was trying to trust Vanessa and to believe that she was doing what she said she was doing. About 6 weeks ago, we had our engagement party, which was a big celebration with about 80 of our friends and family members. The party was at a nice venue in Denver, and everyone was having a great time, and people were giving toasts and congratulating us. About halfway through the party, a man I had never seen before walked into the venue, and he looked angry and determined. The man walked straight up to Vanessa and me, and he said, "Hello, Vanessa." "Hello, I'm Derek, Vanessa's husband." Everyone around us went silent, and I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I said, "What are you talking about? Vanessa is not married to you. You're divorced." Derek laughed, and he said, "No, we're not divorced. We're still legally married. Vanessa never finalized the divorce, and she's been lying to you." Vanessa looked terrified, and she said, "Derek, what are you doing here? You need to leave." Derek said, "I'm here because I found out that my wife is engaged to another man, and I thought her fiancé should know the truth about who he's marrying." Derek pulled out a piece of paper from his pocket, and he said, "This is our marriage certificate. We got married 8 years ago. And we're still married. There's no divorce decree because Vanessa never followed through with the divorce." I looked at Vanessa, and I said, "Is this true? Are you still married to him?" Vanessa was crying, and she said, "Marcus, I can explain. I was trying to finalize the divorce, I swear." Derek said, "She's lying. She never tried to finalize the divorce. She just disappeared and moved to Denver and started a new life and pretended like our marriage never existed." I felt humiliated and betrayed, and I was standing in front of all of our friends and family, and everyone was staring at us, and I didn't know what to say or what to do. I said to Derek, "Why are you here? Why are you doing this now?" Derek said, "Because Vanessa is my wife, and she doesn't get to just pretend like our marriage doesn't exist. And you deserve to know the truth about who you're planning to marry." Derek said, "Vanessa has been lying to you about everything. She lied about why our marriage ended. She lied about filing for divorce. And she's been living a double life." I looked at Vanessa, and I said, "Is he telling the truth?" Vanessa said, "Marcus, please, can we talk about this in private? Not here in front of everyone." I said, "No, I want to know the truth right now. Have you been lying to me this entire time?" Vanessa broke down crying, and she said, "Yes, I'm still legally married to Derek. I never finalized the divorce. I'm so sorry. I was going to tell you. I was trying to fix it." I felt like I couldn't breathe, and I felt like everyone was staring at me, and I felt so humiliated and so betrayed. I said to Vanessa, "I can't believe you did this to me. I can't believe you lied to me for 3 years. And I can't believe you let me plan a wedding with you when you're still married to someone else." I took off my jacket, and I walked out of the venue, and I got in my car and I drove away. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away from the party and away from Vanessa and away from the humiliation. Vanessa called me dozens of times that night, and she sent me countless text messages begging me to talk to her and to let her explain, but I didn't respond. I stayed at a hotel that night because I couldn't face going back to the apartment that I shared with Vanessa. The next day, I went back to the apartment when I knew Vanessa would be at work, and I packed a bag with some of my things, and I left. I stayed with a friend for a few days while I tried to process what had happened and figure out what I wanted to do. I felt so betrayed and so hurt, and I felt like the entire relationship had been a lie. I kept replaying moments from our relationship in my mind, and I kept wondering what else Vanessa had lied to me about, and I kept wondering how I could have been so blind and so trusting. After a few days, I agreed to meet with Vanessa so that she could explain herself, although I wasn't sure that anything she said would make a difference. We met at a coffee shop, and Vanessa looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in days, and her eyes were red from crying. Vanessa said, "Marcus, I'm so sorry. I know I messed up. I know I should have told you the truth from the beginning." I said, Why did you lie to me for 3 years?" Vanessa said, "Because I was ashamed, and because I was afraid that if you knew I was still married, you wouldn't want to be with me, and I had finally found someone who made me happy, and I didn't want to lose you." I said, "So you thought lying to me was the solution? You thought you could just pretend like you were divorced and that I would never find out?" Vanessa said, "I know it was wrong, but I kept telling myself that I would finalize the divorce, and that I would tell you the truth once it was done. But Derek kept making it difficult, and time kept passing, and I didn't know how to tell you." I said, "You had 3 years to tell me. You had countless opportunities to be honest with me, but instead, you chose to lie to me every single day." I said, "And what about the paperwork you showed me from the divorce lawyer? Was that fake too?" Vanessa looked down, and she said, "I did contact a lawyer, but I never followed through with the process. I just showed you the initial paperwork to make you think I was handling it. I was so angry, and I said, so you've been lying to me about lying. You've been creating fake evidence to cover up your lies. How can I ever trust you again? Vanessa said, I know I don't deserve your trust, but I love you, Marcus, and I want to marry you, and I will do whatever it takes to make this right. I will finalize the divorce immediately. I will be completely transparent with you. I will go to therapy, whatever you need. I said, it's not about what I need. It's about the fact that you betrayed me, and you humiliated me in front of all of our friends and family, and you made me look like a fool. I said, and what about Derek? Why did he show up at our engagement party? How did he even know about it? Vanessa said, I don't know how he found out. I haven't been in contact with him. He must have been keeping tabs on me somehow. I said, so your husband, who you're still married to, has been keeping tabs on you and you didn't think that was something I should know about? Vanessa said, I didn't know he was keeping tabs on me. I thought he had moved on with his life. I said, clearly he hasn't moved on, and clearly your marriage to him is not as over as you claimed it was. I asked Vanessa to tell me the truth about her marriage to Derek and about why they never got divorced. Vanessa said that she and Derek had gotten married when she was 26 years old and that the marriage had been good at first, but that over time Derek had become controlling and jealous. Vanessa said that she had wanted to leave Derek, but that he had threatened her and had said that he would never let her go. Vanessa said that she had finally worked up the courage to leave Derek and that she had moved out and had filed for divorce. Vanessa said that Derek had been angry and had refused to cooperate with the divorce and that he had made the process as difficult as possible. Vanessa said that after months of fighting with Derek and dealing with lawyers, she had become exhausted and overwhelmed, and she had decided to just walk away and start a new life in Denver. Vanessa said that she had convinced herself that the marriage was over in every way that mattered, and that the legal paperwork was just a formality that she would deal with eventually. I said, but you didn't deal with it. You just ignored it and pretended like it didn't exist, and you lied to me about it. Vanessa said, I know, and I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake, and I've hurt you, and I understand if you can't forgive me. I said, I don't know if I can forgive you, Vanessa. You didn't just lie to me once. You lied to me every single day for 3 years, and you were planning to marry me while you were still married to someone else. That's not just a mistake. That's a pattern of deception, I said. And I don't even know if I can believe anything you're telling me now, because you've proven that you're willing to lie to me about major things. So how do I know you're not lying to me about other things? Vanessa swore that she was telling me the truth, and that she had never lied to me about anything else, but I didn't know if I could believe her. I told Vanessa that I needed more time to think, and that I couldn't make any decisions about our relationship right now. Over the next few weeks, I did a lot of soul-searching and a lot of thinking about what I wanted to do. I talked to friends and family, and I talked to a therapist, and everyone had different opinions about whether I should give Vanessa another chance or whether I should end the relationship. Some people said that everyone makes mistakes, and that if Vanessa was willing to finalize the divorce and to be honest with me going forward, then maybe the relationship was worth saving. Other people said that lying about being married for 3 years was an unforgivable betrayal, and that I should end the relationship and move on. I also did some research into Derek, because I wanted to understand more about Vanessa's marriage and about why Derek had shown up at our engagement party. I found Derek on social media, and I sent him a message asking if we could talk. Derek agreed to talk to me, and we had a phone conversation where Derek told me his side of the story. Derek said that he and Vanessa had been married for 5 years, and that Vanessa had left him suddenly without much explanation. Derek said that Vanessa had filed for divorce, but that she had never followed through with the process, and that she had just disappeared. Derek said that he had tried to contact Vanessa multiple times over the years, but that she had blocked him and had refused to communicate with him. Derek said that he had eventually moved on with his life, but that a few months ago, a mutual friend had told him that Vanessa was engaged to someone else, and that she was planning to get married. Derek said that he was angry that Vanessa was trying to marry someone else while she was still legally married to him, and that he felt like he deserved to have closure and to have the marriage officially ended before Vanessa moved on. Derek said that he had hired a private investigator to find out where Vanessa was living and what she was doing, and that the investigator had found out about our engagement party. Derek said that he had decided to show up at the party to confront Vanessa and to let me know the truth about her. I asked Derek why he had never finalized the divorce himself, and Derek said that he had tried, but that Vanessa had been uncooperative and had refused to respond to the legal paperwork. Derek said that he could have pursued the divorce more aggressively, but that he had been hurt and angry, and that part of him hadn't wanted to let Vanessa go. I asked Derek if he still had feelings for Vanessa, and Derek said that he didn't, and that he had moved on, but that he wanted closure and he wanted the marriage to be officially ended. Derek said that he was willing to cooperate with the divorce now, and that he would sign whatever paperwork was necessary to finalize it. After talking to Derek, I had a better understanding of the situation, but I was still incredibly hurt and confused about what to do. I realized that Vanessa's story about Derek being controlling and refusing to cooperate with the divorce was only partially true, and that Vanessa had also been uncooperative and had avoided dealing with the situation. I realized that Vanessa had a pattern of avoiding difficult situations and of lying to make her life easier, and I didn't know if that was something I could accept in a partner. About 3 weeks ago, I made the decision to end my relationship with Vanessa. I met with Vanessa, and I told her that I couldn't be with her anymore, and that the trust in our relationship had been broken beyond repair. Vanessa begged me to reconsider, and she said that she would do anything to save our relationship, but I told her that my decision was final. I told Vanessa that I hoped she would finalize her divorce, and that she would work on being more honest in her future relationships, but that I couldn't be with her anymore. Vanessa was devastated, and she cried and said that she loved me, and that she didn't want to lose me. But I told her that she had already lost me when she chose to lie to me for 3 years. I moved out of the apartment that Vanessa and I had shared, and I found a new place to live. The past few weeks have been incredibly difficult, and I've been dealing with a lot of emotions, heartbreak, anger, humiliation, and also relief that I found out the truth before I actually married Vanessa. I've been going to therapy to help me process the betrayal and to help me understand why I didn't see the red flags earlier. My therapist has been helping me understand that Vanessa's behavior was manipulative and that she had been gaslighting me and making me doubt my own instincts when I had questions about her past. My therapist has also been helping me work on trusting my instincts in future relationships and on recognizing red flags earlier. I've been thinking a lot about the red flags that I missed or ignored, like Vanessa's secrecy about her past, her vagueness about the details of her divorce, her reluctance to show me the divorce decree, and her constant excuses for why she didn't have the paperwork. I've realized that I ignored these red flags because I was in love with Vanessa and because I wanted to believe that she was being honest with me. I've learned that it's important to verify important information in relationships, and that it's okay to ask for proof of things like divorce decrees, especially before you get engaged or married. I've been thinking about how humiliating it was to have Derek show up at our engagement party and reveal the truth in front of all of our friends and family. I've had to have difficult conversations with friends and family members explaining what happened, and while most people have been supportive, I still feel embarrassed that I was deceived for so long. I've been thinking about Vanessa and whether she's finally going to finalize her divorce with Derek. I hope that she does, because she needs to take responsibility for her actions, and she needs to officially end her marriage before she tries to start a new relationship with someone else. I've been thinking about dating again eventually, but I'm not ready yet, because I need to heal from this betrayal, and I need to rebuild my ability to trust. When I do start dating again, I know that I'm going to be much more careful about verifying important information, and I'm going to be more assertive about asking questions and getting answers, even if it feels uncomfortable. I've been thinking about other people who might be in similar situations, who might be dating someone who claims to be divorced but who can't provide proof, or who might be with someone who's secretive about their past, and I want to tell them to trust their instincts. I want to tell them that if something feels off, it probably is, and that it's okay to ask for proof of important things like divorce decrees or marriage certificates. I want to tell them that if their partner is evasive or defensive when asked about their past, that's a major red flag, and they should investigate further before committing to the relationship. I want to tell them that lying about being divorced is not a small lie. It's a fundamental deception that affects the entire foundation of the relationship, and it's not something that should be forgiven easily. And I want to tell them that they deserve to be with someone who's honest with them, and who doesn't hide major aspects of their life or their identity. Thank you for reading my story. And if you've been through something similar, if you've discovered that your partner lied about being divorced, if you've been humiliated by a public revelation of your partner's deception, if you've had to end a relationship because of lies and betrayal, or if you've had to rebuild your ability to trust after being deceived, I would love to hear how you dealt with it and where you are now. I'm still healing from this experience, still processing the betrayal, still working on rebuilding my sense of trust, and still figuring out what I want my future to look like. But I'm grateful that I found out the truth before I married Vanessa, and I'm hopeful that I'll eventually be able to open my heart to someone who's honest and trustworthy.